This is Maximum Lawyer with your host, Tyson Mutrux.
Hey, quick heads up. This episode is a little different. Tyson is on the other side of the mic as a guest on the Personal Injury Mastermind podcast with Dreyer. It's a great conversation on increasing case value and what that can actually unlock for your firm. So we wanted to share it with you. All right, let's get into it.
One of the things we pride ourselves with is Google reviews.
If you've listened to this podcast for a while, you know I've heard every marketing tactic under the sun.
It's way harder to get a Google review today than it was 5 years ago. It's just people are done with it.
It's the harsh truth of local SEO. You can move mountains for a client, but getting them to actually cross the finish line and post reviews feels like pulling teeth. Usually, the only time people go out of their way to type something in is when it goes wrong.
I'm just saying generally, because like that, then it's going to trigger it. They're going to be like, oh, because they're pissed off about something.
But today, Tyson Mutrux drops a strategy for generating 5-star Google reviews that's not only brilliant, but it aligns specifically to what he's doing in his firm.
Here's where the magic is. Maybe, in that situation, Isabel says, you know what, Chris?
That may be the best piece of advice I've ever heard. What is the absolutely brilliant thing that Tyson is doing to get those 5-star reviews? You'll just have to keep listening to find out. This is Personal Injury Mastermind. I'm Dreyer, founder and CEO of Rankings.io, the elite performance marketing agency for personal injury law firms. Today, we're talking with Tyson Mutrux from Mutrux Firm Injury Lawyers and Maximum Lawyer. He shares how to maximize your average fee using bad faith claims, why a dedicated cares team is your firm's ultimate financial moat, and the exact psychological script to turn happy clients into an unstoppable Google review engine. Now, usually, I'm the one asking questions around here, but Tyson flipped the script on me right out of the gate to ask about the one metric I focus on to measure a company's health. Let's get into it.
I'm so curious. What is your one number that you focus on?
It's different for everyone. So
what about for the company though? For the company by its like, do you have like a number for the company?
So the main one I'm dialed in right now is CAC to LTV ratio. That number.
Okay, very nice.
That's like it. I mean, to me, that's the health of a company. Right? Everyone says the cost to acquire a case, and that number is the true leading indicator of if you're going to be profitable or not.
So it's funny for us. I like average fee for our firm, average fee. That because you can look at a lot of things from average fee. If your number starts to go down, it could be an indication of a lot of different things, and you can start to tweak things and look at it. It could be maybe you're settling your cases too slowly. Maybe you're settling it too quickly. Like it can indicate a lot of different things and so we know if we're on track, if that number is steadily increasing. Whenever I first started tracking that number, we were like $7,400 a case, which is super low. And now by the way, we don't include like the high end cases. Like, so if we settle like a case for like 7 figures, we're not throwing that into the mix. So it'll skew the numbers big time. So ours is right around 24,000, just under 24,000. So it's increased significantly since I started tracking, I think 2015 or something like that. And it's been like a steady, gradual growth. That means that
amazing. That's great.
Every single one of our cases is worth at least a state minimum. Actually, it's way more than that. So that's our average fee. So it's basically triple what the state minimum is, right? So that's a significant increase, and so I think that, and I also think it's way higher than the average firm.
What were some of the big 80-20 things that you did to get to that case value? How did you identify it was a problem, and then kind of like how did you approach like increasing it?
It's interesting. How did I identify it was a problem? I don't know. That's a question I have actually never been asked. Let me think about it. Back when it's been over a decade since we've been doing it. I don't know. I think I accidentally started tracking it. I think it's probably what it was. It started with that. And then I guess 80-20 is we started that one's probably an easy one where I'd say when we first started tracking this, we were not super great at bad faith. We just weren't. We didn't have as a firm, not a strong understanding as to what bad faith meant when it comes to settlement dollars. And then once we started to shift towards that, and the firm, that is one of the hardest things to explain to any lawyer. I think, at least in Missouri, it is. It's kind of like the Nick Rowley approach, because it is it feels almost like a mythical thing that doesn't work because they don't see it happen that much. If you go to like a average volume firm, they're typically not using bad faith as an angle to try to get more money out of the settlements. And when we made that shift, I'd say we probably made that shift right around 2017, is really focusing and hammering on bad faith and working on getting excess verdicts and excess settlements. So that was probably the 80-20 if we're going to look at that. And it's really kind of funny. So we've brought on attorneys that have a lot of experience, and they came from firms that didn't focus on bad faith. And they come in and they're like, it's like deer in headlights. Like, what are you talking about, bad faith? I remember having a conversation with a guy. I will not tell you what city he's in because it would probably say who it is, but he was heavy on radio ads, and I had coffee with him, and I was talking to him about bad faith and everything. And he was like, what do you mean bad faith? And I had to explain to him bad faith. This is a guy that was spending a ton on marketing and had no idea what bad faith is. And if he had understanding of that, he would be able to get a lot more money for clients. And it'd be better for the profession too. Back to what I was talking about with when we brought on attorneys, I've had the same conversations with attorneys that have had a lot of experience, and they have just never seen it happen before. And the first time they see it happen, they think it's like magic. They're like, oh my God, like, you settled the case for over the policy? What are you talking about? And it drives me crazy whenever I hear attorneys say things like that, because like, this is what we do. Like, this is the center of what we are doing is on the legal side is attacking when it comes to bad faith.
How do you think about, the attraction side though? I mean, first of all, your fee, maybe you're like, oh, well, I'll pay $5,000 or $10,000 for a case, or $5,000 because I'm 5X on the ratio.
So we actually, funny, I have this conversation quite often. So our marketing team, it's funny because they're always trying to spend less money, and they're like, well, to get these cases, we have to spend X number of dollars. And I say, our average fee is $24,000. Like, if I can spend, so I would always use like a high number. Say, if I can spend $8,000 to get one case and get $24,000 on it, I'm going to do it every single day. So, but it's funny. I'm always fighting that because they're always wanting to, and it's kind of like the nature of our firm. We're always trying to like, or do we even need that thing over there? Okay, stop spending money on that thing. So it's part of the culture too, where we've kind of got that built in. So I'm kind of fighting the culture that I've built a little bit, where like everyone's like trying to maximize every penny. So it's part of that, but it is kind of funny how, like, I think if I were in that department, I would probably be fighting for, let's spend more money. But, but I guess that is interesting. So, one of the things I see a lot, and I bet you see this too, is people they're making money, right? They're making money. The marketing thing that they're doing is working. And they're like, well, it's just expensive. I want to shut it down. But are you getting cases from it? Yes. So don't shut it off.
I have this all the time. Will they'll do a rob Peter to pay Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, one channel is going to be better than another. That doesn't mean shut down the one that's not.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you? I'm the non-attorney. Can you give me this the simplified version? Yep.
Simplified version is that you send the demand, the insurance company lowballs you, so they have placed their insured at jeopardy of having their personal assets at jeopardy, at risk. And so because of that, we pit the insured against the insurance company, kind of get them to team up with us. And because of that, the insurance company is willing to pay more money than the policy. That's in a nutshell. That's oversimplifying is what it is.
I think I heard on John Morgan's really entertaining. I like listening to him because he's also at this point in his career where he has no filter and has no cares. And I think he was on Patrick. He has no fucks.
He gives no fucks. That's exactly
right.
Yeah.
So I think he was on Patrick Bet David or the Mice First Million, and he gave that example about, hey, now you're in bad faith, and so I'd always wanted to understand that, but yeah, so that's incredible. The example you gave, the 8,000. I mean, 8,000 to 24 is a 3-to-1 ratio, and from what I've been told in professional services, anything 3-to-1 or higher is healthy for profit, which is awesome.
Anyone that's not doing that needs to change what they're doing. Pick up Running with the Bull by Nick Rowley and educate them a little bit if they've not already. That'll give them the framework, the general framework, and then they can tweak it from there like we have.
The other thing too that during the research that came up, it's like you have this soup to nuts, this concierge level approach to a case, right? Where you are really taking care, I mean, from rental cars to, I mean, you're really, I think of that Alex Hormozy, you read his $100 million offers, like what's a good offer?
Right.
On the denominator, it says, faster and decreasing effort and sacrifice. I mean, you are making this very seamless for them. So talk to our audience about that, the impact it's had on your firm, like that approach.
Yeah, so it's funny. I remember I got the URL completeinjurylaw.com. It's still a URL that we use, but that was like sort of the mindset. We called it complete injury law is how we focus on it. And it was even to the point where, and I've had this conversation with other attorneys too, and they've thought about doing the same thing, where we even thought about getting a fleet of cars that while we are either the client can't get a rental car, or let's say it's an uninsured motorist claim and they don't have rental coverage, that they can use one of those cars. We ultimately decided not to. It just didn't make sense to do it. But we really take the whole approach where if you can't get to a doctor, we make sure we get to the doctor. And the whole idea is that it's going to increase the value of the case. And it's obviously about helping our clients and everything, but most of it centers around getting the clients to the doctors that they need to get to and making sure they make it to their appointments, because that affects everything else when it comes to the case. But from start to finish, I like how you put it, soup to nuts. We really do take that approach. We do like little things too, where this isn't necessarily related to that specifically, but if a client has someone in their life that dies, like there's a button we can click and they can add a couple notes and it sends flowers out to them, like things like that, where we really want to take this. I don't know if I like the word holistic approach, but we kind of like take this holistic approach that there are all these aspects of a client's life that are affected. We've got this massive sheet. I cannot think of the software we use for this, but it's this massive, imagine this massive Kanban board where it's massive to the point where you have to get to each column, you have to zoom in. And we usually do this as a team. So we'll zoom in on it. What we do is we broke down every single stage of the case from the client's perspective. So you're at the scene of the crash. Like, what are you thinking? Like, and we break it down, but what's going through their mind? Okay. Like, what are they feeling? Who are they contacting? Who is it that they actually have contact at that very moment? So all these things, we break it down, like each one of those little slivers is broken down into all these different questions that we ask and then answer, and from start to finish. And then we kind of like develop like, okay, what can we do surrounding that? And it's funny, I really haven't talked about this a whole lot. I really like talking about this in particular because I think it's such a cool thing. And one of the questions is that what is something that no one else is doing that we could do? And that's one of my favorite questions when it comes to that, because we get to that sliver and we answer that question, and that's where the magic happens. Because we've just gone through, all right, who are they in touch with at this point? What are they feeling? What are they thinking? What are their concerns? All these different things. And then like, okay, what's everyone else doing? And what can we do that's different? And that you get so many great little nuggets, and we're not able to adopt all of them. Sometimes like the idea of us buying a fleet of cars for our clients doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you factor in other things, but you get little bitty ideas that make a massive impact.
I'll tell you immediately, I think when you tell a story like that, anybody that's been in an accident puts themselves in their shoes. Like when you were giving that example. So I was thinking of myself, even though I work with attorneys and I've been through this, like when it happens, there's like anxiety and it's just a blur, right?
Sure.
And like, I think that, hey, I need to get in touch with my wife and work, right? You're all stressed about work and like, it'd been nice. Like, hey, do you want us to get a hold of your wife? Do you want us to do this? And it's like, cause your phone might be messed up or who knows?
Have you ever had surgery before?
Yeah.
Okay. So then how disruptive it is. Like, so I was rear-ended a couple years ago and I had to have shoulder surgery from it. And I remember it's amazing, like the things that I was thinking in my head that I'd be able to do. Right. And in reality, everyone else knew I was not able, because like the people I'm surrounded by are like people in my firm and my wife who also works for the firm. And they see it with all these other clients. There's no way in hell you're going to be, I was thinking I was going to be able to sit in my bed and take depots while I was in my bed, and they're like, you're going to be on freaking pain meds. Right. But I remember thinking how helpless it felt, because I was in bed for a week. There a couple of days of that, like where they give you that nerve block. I can't even raise my arm, and I couldn't use my computer. It was all these different things. Your life stops in some aspects. And when you don't have a vehicle and you have, like, that's why it was like such a big deal for us to make sure people can get to their jobs, people get to work, because let's say you are on the lower end of the income scale, right? Usually those jobs, they're hourly based. If you don't make it, even if you've got a good excuse, guess what? Bye-bye, you're getting fired. Their lives stop, right? Their lives stop. And so a big part of it was making sure that they could get to the doctor after work. Like you have to accommodate all these different things. So making appointments for them and figuring all this different stuff out. It's a massive thing, because it just not have that one thing, not having a vehicle in this country is a massive deal.
Your reviews, they name the individuals, which speaks to the personal relationship. So they mention Kristen and Bianca, the friendly voice, Kristen keeps the chaos in check. I imagine when you ask for the review, like, oh, no sweat. Like, I got you.
Mm-hmm. Well, so the key to this, one of the keys, there's many keys of getting your reviews. Google reviews, for anyone that's trying to get them, like, it's way harder to get a Google review today than it was 5 years ago. It's just people are done with it. People are more likely to probably give a negative review at this point than a positive review. Not necessarily with our firm. I'm just saying generally, because like that, then it's going to trigger it. They're going to be like, oh, because they're pissed off about something. But one of the keys to it, like one of my favorite tricks, is it's something along the lines of, because we have what we call the CARES team. A part of the whole complete injury law was like is what we call our CARES team, and our CARES team is basically there from the beginning to the end. I say basically because they're not working on the case. The CARES team, a part of it is actual leads and converting clients, all that, but it acts as sort of like a customer service department where they check in with them. We wanted that continuity instead of them getting handed off to someone and then never having some sort of continuity, because we do have it split up where you have the CARES team, you have pre-lit, and you have litigation. So if you go from a lead to pre-lit to lit, I mean, you're basically being passed off to 3 different teams. CARES team hovers along the entire time, and then from start to finish, and checks in with the client throughout. So that was a big part of it where they're checking in. So the key is, where I was kind of teasing the key, let's use, Krista, or for example, Krista or Kristen. We have a lot of case sounding names in our firm, but we'll use Kristen, use Kristen. So let's say Isabel from the CARES team, she calls and she's talking to you and she's like, hey, Chris, how are things going? The whole idea is to like, see how you're doing, checking in on you. And you're like, you know what? Kristen has done an amazing job. So here's where the magic is. Maybe in that situation, Isabel says, you know what, Chris? Kristen would love to hear that. And one of the things we pride ourselves with is Google reviews. And if you would just leave her a review on our firm page, and I'll send you the link, and just mention her name, it would mean the world to her. Like something like that, where it's not,
that's good.
It's not Isabella asking for a review for her. It's, you're giving a gift to Kristen is what you're doing. Cause you are so appreciative of Kristen. You're giving her a gift is what it is. That's the magic in that, I think.
That may be the best piece of advice I've ever heard, because I think there's 3 parts of this. The first part is what I see a lot of attorneys do wrong is they'll ask for a review for the firm, right? Because I always encourage people to ask for the individual. Mm-hmm. Then now you're saying the gift component and hey, leave a review for someone else. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
See how it changed the dynamic so much? You are, oh my God, I would love to do that for her because she's been so great to me. I would like, people like giving gifts. Like they really do. The next hurdle is removing all the friction, right? What's the friction? Having to go on there, like your daily life is happening, but you also like, which link is it? Like, because we especially have multiple offices, like which one? You make it freaking simple. Here's the link. Would love for you to say a few kind words about Kristen, blah, blah, blah. Like that's how you do it.
That CARES team, I guess, you use like a case status or a HONA or something to keep them updated. So would they kind of take over more the client service communication compared to the case manager? Like break it down just a little bit more, the differences for me.
Here's the main difference. The CARES team just calls to check in to see how they're doing. That's it. It's pretty simple. It's someone calling you from the firm saying, hey, Chris, I'm just Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know. Looks like because like they look at the notes too. This was like something that was grown internally. It was not my idea. One of the case managers came up with this. They'll put in very specific notes about something the client says. So let's say that you're the client, and you mentioned that you all went. What city are you in right now?
I'm in Marion, Illinois. Actually, you might know Marion, Illinois.
Okay, I know where Marion is. Okay, yeah. So
okay.
Are you? I was going to use the Bears as an example. Are you a Bears fan?
No, not a Bears fan. Cardinals and used to be the Rams till they left.
Okay, let's say you're a Cardinals fan. So let's say you took the kids. Do you have kids?
Yeah, one boy.
Okay. You mentioned that you took your son to the Cardinals game last week against the Mets. Okay. So Isabella might call you and say, "Hey, Chris, hey, I'm just calling to see how you're doing, checking in on you. How was the Cardinals game last week?" And then you talk about that. It's a simple call, check in to see how things are going. And we have some specific questions that they ask with it, but the whole idea is just to see how you doing, right? How you doing kind of a thing. And it is, so that's the main difference. All of the other like case update communication, all that is done by the case manager. But whenever Isabella calls you and she says, how's the Cardinals game? After that, she might say, yeah, I mean, it looks like the insurance company's really being a pain. It looks like they really lowballed you on that last offer, and then she'll kind of get into the other stuff. So she's mixing in some of the case stuff. She's mixing in your personal life, but the actual case updates about the legal side of the case all that comes from the actual team that the client is assigned to. It's not done by the CARES team itself.
That's incredible. Talk to me too about, somebody wants to get involved with Maximum Lawyer, like a community.
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's the easiest and cheapest way, the free way. We do have a big Facebook group. Then you just go to Maximum Lawyer on Facebook and do that. That's the easiest way. We also have the podcast. So you could listen to the podcast, see if it's kind of your flavor, and then MaximumLawyer.com. That's where you can go to. If anyone's interested in any of the events, maxlawevents.com. We have the conference coming up in October. So
any of our audience wants to connect, just a final, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, I'd say you just go to MaximumLawyer.com. If you have questions about the firm, just call our office. Don't email me. I'm not an email fan. 888-550-4026. You can call us if you have anything about a case. But when it comes to Maximum Lawyer, just MaximumLawyer.com.
Amazing. Tyson, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate it.
Tyson's strategy is the perfect loop. You fight for the maximum fee by mastering bad faith. You protect the client operationally by building a CARES team that genuinely maps out the disruption in their lives. And then you turn the operational excellence into a marketing asset by generating those 5-star reviews. That is how you build an undeniable moat around your personal injury firm. If you found value in Tyson's playbook today, you should take this episode and share it with people in your own office, your intake staff, your case managers, and your partners. If you're ready to dominate your market, increase your average fee, and sign the kinds of high-value cases that let you completely outspend the competition, head on over to rankings.io. We are the elite performance marketing agency for personal injury law firms. I'm Chris Dreyer. We'll catch you next time.